Hi, I'm Karen McConnell from Katie Equestrian and this is Top Tip Tuesday. Okay, so I'm often asked about our approach to training horses and whether we follow any particular sort of methodology at all. And we kind of have developed our own kind of approach and method, and that we call the Katie way. But a fundamental part of that really does relate to the German scales of training. So I want to talk a wee bit about that. We have a very sympathetic and approach to how we care for and train the horses. And we never like to push them too far out of their comfort zone in terms of making improvements and things. We always want them to feel really, really comfortable at whatever stage of training that they're at. But like I say, the German scales of training has to have an element of importance within any training method. So I wanted to talk to you about that today. So the first element of the scales of training is rhythm. Now, whenever you're working, whether you are training a horse for dressage or whether it is for show jumping or whether you are training a leisure riding horse, rhythm is a fundamental part of the work that you do. Now, there's been a wee bit of debate over the years about whether rhythm or suppleness should come first on the scales of training. And definitely for me is the rhythm. Even a horse that can come in quite tense, once you get them working and forward into a rhythm, that can lead to the suppleness. So I would absolutely sort of apply the rhythm thing first. Whenever a horse is tense, they tend to shorten or they can quicken, and sort of establishing a correct rhythm can be a huge thing to sort of going towards better work in the future. Okay, so the second step on the German scales of training is suppleness. Suppleness or looseness, I think is sort of a better explanation of the translation. So looseness is really important. So that means looseness through the joints, looseness through muscles. We don't want resistance really at any point. So even in the very basic, when you're teaching a horse to be ridden or to accept a rider, looseness comes in fairly quickly right after rhythm. And that means that your horse, you're not creating any sort of difficulty or sort of areas of tension and keeping everything nice and loose, and that aids the relaxation that comes into that as well. Okay, so the next element on the German scales of training is contact. Now initially we like to introduce contact really quite early on in the horse's training. They need to know about that. They need to know what it feels like to have that communication with a rider. And it's a really difficult one to teach actually, in terms of, you know, what kind of weight is required. And every horse is slightly different, but obviously you're looking for a soft, elastic contact with your horse, so that it is a way of communicating. It means you can give a little half halt quite easily. It means that you can communicate any of that down the rein at any given time. If you have wishy-washy lines and reins, then you can't have that useful communication with your horse. Equally, if you're too heavy in the hand, or if you have one hand that's heavier than the other, then you can be developing all sorts of resistance and difficulties for the horse. So it's really, really important that your contact is correct, and that it is consistent, and that it's elastic. Okay, so number 4 on the German scales of training is impulsion. Impulsion is that extra bit of energy that goes in after the sort of natural athleticism of the horse. So we can't really achieve that without the rhythm, without the suppleness, and without a decent contact. But without impulsion, we can't then ask for what comes later, the collection. Number 5 is straightness. Now straightness is something that we work on really from day one, and then with all the German scales of training, you're thinking about these things all the time, from the first day you sit in a horse to the way into the future when you've been riding them for 10 years. But straightness is really, really important at any level. If you allow the horse to develop any crookedness or any sort of resistance on any particular rein or between one leg and rein, then it can become a real problem, and it can result in them developing in a poor way, in a poor manner. It can then build pain and discomfort for them. So straightness is something that we're aiming from right from the start. Obviously all horses are like us, they're either left or right-handed. The vast majority are far more bendy to the right and a bit more stiff to the left. But we want to work at trying to even that up, and we do that from day one. And we do that by being super hyper aware of what we're doing as a rider. You know, are we sitting equally on our seat bones? Do we have equal weight in our stirrups? Do we have equal weight in our reins? And obviously, as we ask for different movements, we adjust our weight and use our aids accordingly. But in that sort of basic mode, are we straight? And of course the answer is no, we're not. You know, that's what we're working towards at all times. And the last stage in the German scales of training is collection. And really we cannot ask for collection until we have all the other elements. We need to be relaxed, we need to be in a rhythm, we need to have a good contact, and we need to have impulsion. We need to be straight, because without straightness we can't then ask for any collection when we ask the horse to take far more weight on the hindquarters. So now at any stage we're looking at all these different scales and what we would expect of a horse just starting under saddle to one that's been, you know, a maybe 7, 8 or 9 year old is obviously quite different. And collection is maybe something that we won't ask of a young horse or a very young horse, but what we do introduce at a very early stage is you know, correctness within transition. So even as you ask for a downwards transition, you are asking for an element of collection as you step into a walk from a trot, for example. Or we might play around with a little bit of a transition within a pace. So we'll ask on and off within a trot, which is the very beginnings of that collection that you're asking for. So we play around with this all the time when we're training horses. It's not all that we do, but it certainly is a huge component of what we do with the horses. And like I say, we add into that a real sort of more of a sort of ethos about being really sympathetic to the horse's needs and being very aware of who they are as individuals and what stage they're at. But my top tip for you today is to learn a little bit more about the German scales of training. They really do apply to us as riders, regardless of the level that we're riding at. I hope this was helpful.